Yeah,
like if somebody else knew that you were on both ballots, like I would just be like, I ain't voting for any of those people.
And speaking on that, I have worked the polls in Germany Township at the Eagles building for 3 years in a row. The first year I ran into a problem with that would be 2023, spring of 2023. Nick Lavelle was running on both Republican and Democrat ballot. And I was standing there, and he had 17 of his churchgoers around me, surrounding me. And I said, you all need to tell every voter that walks up here that you're on both ballots. And they're like, why? I said, because you have to be honest with your voters. I have door knocked these voters, and if they knew you're on both ballots, they would not vote for you. That started a huge fight where the police were called on me. And I was wearing a body cam out there, so I was good. So I went over to vote, and they called in the ACRC chair here in Gettysburg, Charlotte Schaefer, who came to my precinct over at Littlestown Chapel on Bollinger Road and started to proceed to chew me out. Nick called her. And first she went at the lady that manages the area, Michelle, went after her first, and I was sitting right next to her. She was standing up, I was sitting down, I just voted, and literally said to her, Dwayne's telling everybody that Nick's a Democrat. And Michelle turned to me and looked at me and said, Dwayne, are you telling them that? I said, nope. I said, I'm telling them that Nick's on both ballots. He's on the Republican and on the Democrat ballot. And then she turned around and looked at Charlotte and said, he's not doing that. Charlotte came around her anyway and stuck her finger in my face. I have not been telling anybody that, and I have everything on body cam. And Michelle said, yup, he sure does. I said, so Nick was standing right there. He followed her over. Nick's mom was there. So I said, you're a liar, and you're a liar. And Charlotte Schaefer's mouth just dropped because I just called her a liar. I said, I'm done with all of you. I said, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go back to my precinct over there, and I'm going to work it. So as these people were coming in, I'm telling them, trying to tell them. Now, the church people are heading them off. They're telling them, they're whispering to them, it's just Dwayne's good. You know, I'm watching it, it's on video, I got it. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, these people are evil. They're evil. And my friend Dave Shear was there. He was there for my protection. He's my backup. He was standing there, and I'm standing there. He was supposed to watch me. I had my body cam on, but he's supposed to watch me. And literally, he's seen the evil. He said, look, they're whispering. I said, I know what they're doing. They're telling them not to approach me. Because you can't intimidate people in front of the poll. They have to come to you. You're not allowed to intimidate them, and I understand that. And you got to stay 10 feet away from the door. I get it. The threshold, I get it. Wasn't breaking any laws. Just was trying to ask them if they understood who they were voting for, if they needed any help. That's all I was trying to do. So they would go and they vote, they'd come out. Well, Nick made both the Republican and Democrat ballot for the general of that year in November. Fine. November comes. I'm out in front of the polls again. People would show up at the precinct. They would go in. They'd come out and say, I'm not voting for Nick. It says Democrat/Republican under his name. There you go. So when I did the figures on Nick's voting compared to all of ours, our increase from the primary to the general, we increased by over 700 votes. Nick didn't. Nick lost Republican votes big time. In Littlestown, as well as Aspers, PA, it's the two most conservative district town that you could ever vote in. You don't cross-file. Now, cross-filing is when you get a Democrat to carry your petition and get 10 Democrats to sign so you can be on the Democrat ballot. Now, I'm sitting at the cross-filing is a problem because to me, it's an open primary. If you're allowed to vote both tickets and come back running against your own Republican candidates, that's not a good thing. And I'll be honest with you. So my whole point is you can't ever, and that's a written rule with the Republican, run against another Republican as a Democrat. That's a no-no. So most of the voters I've found, and I'm finding that door knocking now, they did not know that exists. But here's the problem with the ballots. and let me just name this for you. We're going to get into specifically the people that are running for Littlestown School Board. On the Republican ballot, if you are a Republican and you're going to vote in the primary, you can only be handed a Republican ballot when you walk in. Number 1 at the top of your ballot for school board is Rachel Hutchinson. She's a Democrat. Number 1. Number 2 on the Republican ballot to pick from is Carl Thompson. He's a Democrat. Number 3 is Alberta Allie McCall. She is a Republican. She's on both ballots. Then you get to number 5, Donna Bayless, Republican, lifelong Republican. She's only on the Republican ballot. She did not cross-file. You get to Stephen Yerger. He's a Republican, but he's on both the Democrat ballot and Republican ballot. Then you get to Brian Lawyer, number 7. He's a Democrat, also running on the Republican ballot. So when you're talking about the Republican ballot, you have everybody cross-filed except Donna Bayless. So Donna Bayless is the only one running on the Republican ballot as a Republican. She's not double-dipping. So then you get to the Democrat ballot. Here's the order. Number 1, Brian Lawyer. That's, if you're a Democrat, that's what you're going to see. Number 2, Carl Thompson. Number 3, Janelle Ressler. Number 4, Rachel Hutchinson. Number 5, Alberta Allie McCall. And number 6, Stephen Yerger. There's your chronological order of what you're going to see on your ballot when you vote May 20th. Now I ask you, how is that fair to any voter, Republican or Democrat, if you're not honest? Because nowhere on that Democrat ballot and nowhere on that Republican ballot does it designate what you are. It just lists your name until you get to the primary, the general. That's when they put it, right below your name. So you'll go and vote and decide who moves forward off of not knowing if they're actually Republican or Democrat, unless you're smart enough to look it up. And I will tell you this, 9 times out of 10 when I reach people, they're not even sure who they're voting for. They see signs. This is what they tell me. I see lots of signs, but I don't know who to vote for. And they literally say to me, thank you for coming to my house and at least giving me insight into who each of these individuals are. I said, look, I'll be honest with you. I'm not even going to tell you how to vote. I'm not going to explain to you my opinion. I'll give you the facts. So if Janelle loses as a Republican in this election, this primary, she's going to come back against whoever won as a Republican as a Democrat. That should never happen, ever. Because then when they get to the general, what they do is, unlike the primary, they combine your Democrat votes and your Republican votes. Boom. And that should never happen. They should never be allowed to win Republican votes and Democrat votes in the general election and they combine them for a total tally. Never. They don't do it during the primary, but they do it during the general. And they can actually outvote you with more Democrats than Republicans or vice versa. That's not right. And when you tell the residents, taxpayers, that voters, they don't like it. They're steadfast against it. They said it should not be that way. And I agree. If you don't win as a Republican, and remember, independents cannot vote in the primary. So if independents can't vote in the primary, why are you allowed to cross-file? That should not be legal. And you know what they say? They say, well, we're kind of neutral. That's why we run on both ballots. I'm like, that's not the case. You're elected as what party you stand for. And then you go in there and you're supposed to be neutral. This isn't, because Jeannie Ewing made a comment on Facebook where she said, well, let me explain cross-filing. Cross-filing is done because we represent all the students. And I stood up at a meeting and I said, Jeannie, as far as your post is concerned, that's disingenuous because you say you represent all the students, but the lady that was pushed out of the district who has 2 students in this district, you didn't worry about her. I said, and Suzanne Johnson over here, you're not worried about her daughter. I consider that to be all students. So saying that is a tenement to her making an excuse to try to blow over the fact that they're on both ballots. There's no other way to explain it except deceit. You don't play both sides. And now I don't believe in having a political view on the board. I believe you should remain neutral regardless. So that's why you see me engage with both Democrat and Republicans. I represent all of you. So give me your views, give me your opinions, and let me process it. And I'm going to be fair to everybody. I am not going to be one-sided. I was put on this board for the students and the district. I will act accordingly. I was elected by people that are on my party, but I have to remain neutral. As same thing if we have a student disciplinary problem. We are the jury, and the lawyer is the judge. We have to remain neutral at all times. And I do in every aspect of my life when it comes to the school board. I try to go in there with an open mind. I try to stay neutral, not put politics in it at all. Politics stays out of it because I was elected by the people that want me in there, and my job is to now represent everybody. I'm on the board. It doesn't stop at the end of Republican or the beginning of Democrat. It does not stop there. That's why you see me talking to Suzanne Johnson. That's why you see me talking to her about what's going on in the district, because she has insight. She has a student in it, whereas I don't. So you tell me what's going on. You tell me what you're seeing and give me some insight as to your perspective. And I will literally listen to you and make decisions and bring it up. My whole point is they think I'm not in touch with the electorate and with the parents, and with the parents don't want me to say anything because they're scared. So I'm the scapegoat. I'm the guy they come after. And that's fine. I'll be the broad shoulders. When you get personal with your voters, with your residents, with your taxpayers, it changes everything. When you go on the streets and specifically speak to them, and they tell you from the heart how they feel, right, that's different from sitting in a room waiting for somebody to come to the podium. There's no better way to understand your electorate than to go visit them. There's no better way, and nobody wants to do that.
Now, why do you feel that other candidates don't want to do it?
I feel...
Is it because of their voting record?
I feel their voting record is a big obstacle. And I also feel that it comes right down to, and I hate to say this, laziness. They literally have always gone off the fact they stick a sign in a yard, people show up and vote for the first 5 or 4. You know the drill. They circle, 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 circle. We have tried in the past 3 years to stop that, because that's a bad policy for people to go in and they don't know who they go circle the first 4 or 5. How many times you to pick? Because you really don't know who you're picking. So they might know the judge, they might know maybe the treasurer, but they don't know all of it. So they start putting circles when it says pick 4. They're, We try to educate them at every precinct during voting day as to what they're voting for. Nothing more says that when you show up at their door and they say to you, I see signs everywhere and I have absolutely no idea who to vote for. And I was like, well, ask me questions. And I'll stand there for half an hour, 45 minutes. Ask me questions. I'll explain to you everything. And when I leave, if you have any other questions, you can reach out to me via email. I will gladly answer your questions. I'll be honest. I'll give you facts. And I won't be biased. I don't speak out against any of the other candidates. I don't. I never do. God bless them. They're running. Lord knows I wish 60 people would run and give a little bit of a challenge. But it seems that only a certain amount of people run, and it seems to be the same people every time.
Well, there's a clique, I think.
There's a clique.
It's a clique.